Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Please select your language in Zoom by following the instructions on the screen. And also, please write your questions in the Q&A box, not the chat. Please use the chat for engagement and commentary, but any questions that you would specifically like answered, please use the Q&A box. Thank you. All right, welcome everyone. We are so thrilled that you're here to learn about a new intervention package that's all about reducing gender inequities to improve very young adolescents' health and well-being across the life course. This package, funded by USAID, is a joint effort of multiple partners, including Breakthrough Action, of which Think Place and Johns Hopkins Center for Communications Programs are consortium members, the Global Early Adolescent Study, and of course, PKBI Bali are phenomenal partners in Indonesia, where the design and test of this package took place. And that video that you hopefully saw as a preview was actually created by our youth consultant, who is one of our presenters today. And before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge that the work that we will share today, while focused on gender, was developed with and for heterosexual and cisgender people due to the predominance of this relationship type and the legal and political context in Indonesia. And we recognize that this is an inherent limitation, and we would encourage those who may adapt these materials for use in other contexts include sexual and gender minorities in all aspects of adaptation, implementation, and evaluation to ensure the package meets the needs of as many people as possible. So with that said, we wanted to start today with a little exercise. So when I show a slide, I'll read the text aloud, and I want to ask each of you to just sit with that norm for a bit and think about if or how this norm shows up in the communities where you live and work, okay? So boys shouldn't cry. It means they're weak and not masculine. Girls and women should remain pure and innocent regarding virginity and menstruation. Boys should be tough, even if they're nervous on the inside. Girls and women should remain pure and innocent. Sorry, girls and women should be thin and pretty. So these are some of the gender norms that surfaced as most relevant to the communities we worked in within Indonesia to design and test this intervention package. And as you can imagine, the impact of these norms can be quite harmful to young people, not just when they're young, but across their life course. And that is what this intervention package is all about. So I'm going to ask Marcella to launch our first poll. And we'd like to get a sense of if these norms or other gender norms are prevalent in the communities in which you live and work. So we'll give about 30 seconds or so for folks to answer this question, and we'll keep the list of norms here up on the slide so you can refer back to them. And also, if you have other examples of gender norms that you'd like to share, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'd be really curious to see about whether these norms or different gender norms are present in the communities where you are. All right, we'll just give it a little bit more here. All right, so we seem, you can go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to share the results. All right, can you see that? There we go. All right, so it looks like these norms are very prevalent in our communities. Some are somewhat prevalent. So I think that, no, I'm not saying that this is a good thing, but I'm saying that hopefully what we're saying today will resonate with you. So thank you for that, Marcella. I'm going to stop sharing here. So today we hope to accomplish a few things. First, we are aiming really to deepen our understanding of the importance of addressing gender inequity during very young adolescence. We also want to explain what this package is about and what it can really help you accomplish. We also want to share how it works as a package, both theoretically and practically. And lastly, we want to provide some guidance and examples about how to adapt this to your context. So to help us understand all of that, we have a wonderful speaker panel today, including several members from our partners in Indonesia at PKBI Bali. So we have the Eka Purni, who's the executive director. We have Fatima Gita El Hasni, who's a community organizer at PKBI Bali. We have Donnie Kurniawan, who's the youth consultant, and he was the creator of that amazing video that you saw before we got started. And Nimade Tariani, who is their project manager. And we also have from Johns Hopkins Center for Communications Programs, Olivia Carlson. From the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, we have Kara Hunterson representing the GEAS study, which we'll talk about more in a bit. And from Think Place, we have me, Jordy Barron, who you hopefully won't get sick of by the end of the webinar. So before we get into the details of the package, we think it's really important to understand why we did this project in the first place. So I'm going to actually ask Marcella to launch our second poll, greeting you with the polls hard up front here. So we'd like to get a sense of your experience level working with gender and also working with very young adolescents. So we'll give you 30 seconds or so. And just note that there are 2 questions here in this poll. All right. I'm going to go ahead and we'll close the poll here and share results. So it looks like most of you have some experience working on gender transformative programming, and we can get into a little bit more about what that means. And then just a few of you seem to have a lot of experience working with, oh, here we go. And most of you also have some experience working with very young adolescents, which is that 10 to 14 years of age group. So, okay, this is good. But I also just want to state that even if you're in the no experience category, we are so glad that you're here, because even if you're interested, then yes, this package can still be for you. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Thank you again, Marcella. And now I'm going to hand it over to Kara, who's going to help us understand the why behind this package.
Thank you, Jordy, for that great introduction, and it's nice to see everyone here today. I appreciated seeing those poll results because it sounds like we have a bit of a mix in people's understanding of working with this age group, which we see as a really critical time for gender transformative interventions. So in the broader landscape of gender transformative programming, there were a few key gaps that we wanted to address. The first one being why gender inequality at this age, and why these audiences. So first I'll address why gender inequity at this age. So very young adolescents, which is defined as 10 to 14 years of age, is a time when young people experience increased pressure to adhere to unequal gender norms that negatively affect their current and future health and well-being. So some of the reason for that is that this developmental phase is when adolescents start seeking relationships with peers and communities outside of their household, which is quite different from childhood, where they are mainly still interacting with others inside of their household. So this makes young adolescents a particularly important phase for interventions because we can use that transition and address these norms before they lead to many of the negative health outcomes that we see in older adolescence and adulthood. So that's the main focus of the Global Early Adolescence Study, which is the most globally representative longitudinal study examining how gender norms impact health and well-being of young adolescents as they age into older adolescence, which is that 15 to 19 age group, and then beyond into adulthood. So the next question is, why are we focusing on these audiences? So, although gender norms and social expectations are shaped and experienced at a young age and intensify throughout adolescence, there's really a lack of gender focused programming that's tailored specifically to young adolescents. When there is investment, though, it's largely focused on individual level interventions. However, we found that even though young adolescents are increasingly influenced by community norms, their behaviors are still largely controlled by the adults around them. And that includes parents, teachers, religious leaders, and others in their communities. So, why don't existing interventions change behaviors? Well, we know a little bit about this through the GEAS, which evaluated a number of existing gender transformative interventions. And just to define that briefly, by gender transformative interventions, we mean interventions that seek to critically examine gender norms and increase gender equitable attitudes and behaviors. So what we found were that there were a few things happening. First, teachers were not comfortable discussing certain information, so they wouldn't even deliver some of the curriculum to the adolescents. Government officials wouldn't even allow certain topics to be discussed. And adolescents themselves would be receiving different messages in the intervention than what they might have been receiving at home from parents and caregivers. So all of this points to the need for other key change agents to be better and more intensively integrated into the design and implementation of gender transformative interventions. So this is why, on the next slide, we focused our human-centered design process on including these key socialization agents that influence very young adolescents' knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors. So this means that though young adolescents were a key part of co-design and are included in most of the interventions, it's really those surrounding adults that this package aims to reach for behavior change. So on this slide, you'll see that we mapped those socialization agents to the socio-ecological model of development, addressing multiple audiences and multiple levels to build that supportive environment for gender norm change. So now I'll hand it back to Jordy to talk a little bit about human-centered design and how we were able to do all of this.
Thank you so much, Kara. So now that we have an understanding of the why, thanks to Kara, I'm going to provide a brief overview about how we got here. So Breakthrough Action led a human-centered design process in 2 countries that are part of GEAS's multi-year cohort study sites, Indonesia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the first design and test sprint began in the DRC to develop interventions that built upon their Growing Up Great program. And that was a program that aimed to foster a supportive environment for adolescents so that they could understand and examine sexual and reproductive health topics and related social and gender norms. So these interventions were specifically focused on strengthening the parent-child relationships, and didn't extend to other audiences within the VYA environment. So then the team took learnings from the DRC and began to design and test an intervention package in Indonesia that would complement their existing comprehensive sexuality education program known as SETARA, and aim to reach other audiences in the VYA environment. So we ultimately completed 3 rounds of testing in Indonesia. And again, the videos that you saw in the very beginning of this webinar or of the co-design sessions held in Indonesia for this project as part of the human-centered design process. So one thing that I really want to emphasize about this process, we have a lot more detailed information on this on our resource page, so we can direct you to that, where you can look at the reports from testing if you're interested in that. But what I really want to emphasize here are who was involved in the human-centered design process. So these numbers and stakeholders represent who we worked with throughout the 2 co-design sessions in Indonesia. And as you can see, we have representatives from public departments, schools, different facets of the community and village leaders, families, and local subject matter experts to help develop and refine content. So it was really a wide variety, and you can see that we had just a lot of really a really great engagement across these stakeholder groups. So during co-design in Indonesia, one of the really important things that emerged was identifying these 2 key outcomes for the package. That is improving mental health and reducing gender-based bullying. So what do we mean by gender-based bullying? So first, let's define bullying, and then we'll define gender-based bullying. So bullying is a form of aggressive behavior in which somebody repeatedly causes another person injury or discomfort, and there's an imbalance of power between the perpetrator and the victim. So bullying can take the form of physical contact, words, or their more subtle actions. So gender-based bullying is bullying based on one's lack of adherence to gender norms or those informal rules and shared social expectations that distinguish expected behavior on the basis of gender. So, and it is a form of gender-based violence. So now that we know the why and the how of this package, it's time to dive into the what. And I think this is what you are really all here for today. So we are so thrilled to present the Get for Youth pilot package. And Get for Youth stands for Gender Equity Today for Youth. And this package is all about creating a gender equitable environment, specifically for very young adolescents. So what's inside? So this package consists of 5 interventions that are intended to be implemented together within a defined jurisdiction in order to reach those key audiences. So the interventions include a multi-stakeholder forum where cross-sectoral leaders form a steering committee to guide local adaptation and implementation of this package. It includes an immersive art exhibition where community members can understand and empathize with VYA experiences of gender-based bullying. It includes an interactive video where audiences can choose their own endings to see how the actions of adults impact VYAs. It also includes a safe schools program for middle schools that equips school faculty and staff to respond to bullying and gender-based bullying in a gender equitable way. And lastly, it includes a family space program that's designed to be fun and to strengthen relationships and communication between parents and their very young adolescent children. So I just want to reemphasize that even though this package aims to benefit VYAs, right, they're kind of at the center of this, the intended audience of the intervention, really the behavior change target for this intervention is the adults in the VYA environment, like the parents and caregivers, teachers and other staff at school, the principals, vice principals, so as leaders within the community and government institutions that all have a shared responsibility to ensure a safe and healthy environment for VYAs. So to learn more about this, how this package works, in real life, we're going to follow a community as they might experience this intervention package. And we're going to start our journey with the exhibition. Then we'll advance to the family space, safe schools, the interactive video, the multi-stakeholder forum. And you'll see that actually the interactive video is an intervention that's implemented within these other interventions. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm actually going to ask our PKBI colleagues to guide us through these interventions. And we're going to start with the exhibition. And we're going to first share a video of what was curated in Indonesia. And then I'm going to hand it over to Ima.
Halo, selamat datang di pameran manusia Coming of Age yang sedang diadakan di Dharma Negara Alaya. Dibuka tanggal 22 dan akan berlangsung sampai tanggal 28 Mei mendatang. Oke, kita akan lanjut ke pamerannya. Oke, selamat datang di pameran manusia Coming of Age. Pameran ini merupakan pameran perdana dari PKBI Bali yang berkolaborasi dengan Gura Institute dan Rupa Muda di Bali. Jadi pameran ini memang menceritakan tentang perjalanan kehidupan manusia itu sendiri yang kadang ya tidak baik-baik saja, dan juga bagaimana manusia itu kadang masih dikotak-kotakan menjadi laki-laki dan perempuan. Jadi di sini ada cerita-cerita yang ingin dibagikan bersama dan diharapkan ini bisa membangun sebuah awareness agar kita tahu bersama kalau hal-hal seperti ini masih terjadi. Yuk kita ke karya yang pertama.
Okay, so the video continues, but unfortunately we don't have time for that. So we're gonna continue. Here we go. All right, Ima, over to you.
Thank you, Jordi. Hi, everyone. Greeting from Bali, Indonesia. My name is Ima, and I hope you enjoyed the exhibition video that we've played before. And now, I would like to take you to take a closer look at these photos. What do you see in the mural? Maybe you can write the answer in the chat box. But for me, I see three women, a young girl, a young adult, and an older woman. It seeks to portray the intergenerational impact of being bullied for not meeting society expectation for being a typical boy or girl. You can see the visitors are gazing at the mural as they are invited to reflect on what is this mural represent. So, anyways, what is this exhibition? The exhibition is an interactive and immersive art experience that aims to first, elevate the VYA's experience and bridge the gap between young people and the adult influencer in their life. Second, increase knowledge and empathy about gender-based bullying and its impact on VYAs. Third, help visitors express emotion through participatory art. And lastly, spark a community dialogue around gender norms. So the exhibition takes an impact-first, experiential approach to help audience learn about harms of gender norms and gender-based bullying on VYAs. It's designed to be created in collaboration with a local artist organization to make it truly a community effort. And this exhibition aims to reach adult community members primarily in addition to VYAs. So here's the preview of some of the materials that we create to help you bring the exhibition to life in your community. The first item is the detailed journey map of the exhibition, which include the objective of each installation, examples of how it was created in Indonesia, and guidance for adapting each installation for your context. We also create a resource to help facilitator guide visitors through the exhibition. and ensure they have a meaningful experience. And lastly, we provide customizable promotional material such as postcard, a visitor pamphlet, and promotional posters. So, continuing to the journey, because the exhibition has made a big splash in your community and people interested in, and they get motivated to make a change. I'm going to introduce you the family space. So in these photos, we can see this big smile of a family playing one of the communication games during the family space. This game is designed to help families to get each other better, both through fun questions and deeper, thoughtful questions. The family space is kind of like a fun, interactive camp that focuses on first, strengthening caregiver-adolescent relationship so they can more easily talk about the important topics during a critical time in VYI's life. Second, surface gender norms. And lastly, fostering critical reflection and discussion about those gender norms. So we also aims. Oh, sorry, Jordi. So, uh, so here's the preview of some of the materials we create for the family space to help achieve those goals. Some of you may be familiar with breakthrough actions and pathways card. So we adapt those cards for parents and VYAs to get used and get to know each other better. We also create a blueprint for implementers to use and customize their family space classes. And there's also a family activity challenge card where participating families aims to complete at least one activity in between classes. And families that complete the most activities will be entered into drawing to win a small prize. So please remember that these materials are not exhaustive. But again, we want to give you a preview of what included in this package. Now, to introduce you about Safe School training, I would like to ask Katari to share about what the Safe School program is about. Over to you,
Okay,
Katari.
thank you, Ima. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ima. Hello, everyone. My name is Tari. I will continue the presentation about the SAP school. Let's take a closer look at this photo, everyone. This photo is during the first day of the training program that we create for teacher and other school faculty and staff, including school principal and vice principal. So, what is SAP school? SAP School is a whole school program for middle school that equips school to respond to bullying and gender equitable through three main components. The first is a multi-day training for school faculty and staff. That's what you see in the picture. The second is a reporting system that PAS can use confidentially report incident of bullying and get the help they need. And the third is an external referral system for complex cases where PAS might need to get connected with research beyond the school. As mentioned of the previous slide, this program is comprised of the three main components. The first is a training curriculum for school faculty and staff. This is designed to be a 3 until 5-day training program and is inspired by the USAID Doorways program, as well as the human-centered design principle of building empathy specifically for PAS. The second component is reporting form, which can be a Google form or other easily accessible mechanism for students to use to safely report bullying. And the third component is a referral system, which includes a flowchart diagram about how to establish and manage a referral system in the designated school. Together, these components help create a school environment where adults are better equipped to handle bullying and gender-based bullying, and where students can safely get the help they need. Now, we will continue on the multi-stakeholder forum. So what happening in this picture? Yeah, PKBI is a that our organization in Indonesia is meeting with village leader. They are discussing how to assemble a group of cross-sectoral partners to come together to achieve the following goals. The first goal is increase knowledge and gender equitable attitude among these cross-sectoral leaders. The second is make programming to improve gender equity priority and provide a gateway for piloting and implementing this package. As you can see, this intended audience for this intervention include cross-sectoral community leaders, government institution, and youth organization. Here is a preview of some the material we create to help you achieve the goals of multi-stakeholder forum. First, we have a customizable overview presentation, which is kind of like pitch decks that can you use to make the case for piloting and implementing the GAPS for Youth package. We also create a forum blueprint, which provide objective and guidance about how to engage the forum members. And lastly, we provide guidance for creating a memorandum of understanding or MOU among forum members that will solidify their support for piloting and implementing this package. Now we are going to ask Doni to share with us about our last intervention, the interactive video.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Sari, and we arrived to the next journey in the interactive video. So, what's happening in this photo? That's me in the blue t-shirt. I'm facilitating a screen of the interactive video as part of the exhibition that Ima talked about earlier. The interactive video is a choose your own ending styles video that aims to spark critical reflection and discussion around the long-term impact of how adults can elevate or perpetuate harmful gender norms among VYA. At different points in the video, viewers can select between two options. One that reflects the current behavior and norms, or what happened in real life, and another that reflects the desired behavior and more equal norms. Also, the primary audience for the video is community leaders and school faculty and staff. The video can be utilized within the other intervention as well, including the exhibitions and the family space. Now we are going to play a preview of the video used for the set school framing. The premise is that a boy is being bullied for liking Korean bands that are typically popular among girls. So please be warned that these things depicts bullying and harm.
Kak, kok aku lebih suka nonton Seventeen?
Tapi NCT juga keren tau.
NCT. Oh, NCT itu kan yang ada Jisung itu kan?
Iya, habis itu juga ada Jaehyun, ada Jaemin. Pokoknya kamu harus nge-blast mereka deh.
Ya.
Ayo. Pada ngomongin apa sih? Sepi banget dari tadi. Gosipin aku ya?
Enggak.
Cowok tuh main basket sana di luar. Apa? Bukan cowok ya? Jangan-jangan nama Deva cuma nama samaran doang kan? Nama saya Devi kan? Guys, kita punya teman baru nih. Namanya Devi. Hai Devi.
So that's the first scene. Later in the video, a teacher noticed Deva is upset, and that's when the video will pause for the choose your own ending style questions that the viewers in the step school training will answer. And what's also included in the package are there is video clip, a script, and a storyboard that you can use to create your own video or live actor story. And second one, there is an introductory presentation and facilitator guide to lead the discussion. And the last one, a customizable promotional poster. Now I will turn it back over to Jordi.
Thank you, Donnie, and thank you, PKBI team. Thank you. That was awesome. So now that we understand the why and the what, let's dive a little bit into the how. So how does this package work from a theoretical perspective? So if you look at the graphic on the right, it illustrates how collectively the interventions reach those key audiences and provide multiple exposures to the interventions within a defined jurisdiction. So what does that actually mean? So let's start with BYAs at the center. So if we imagine them living in a community that's implementing this package, those BYAs will have the opportunity to experience the exhibition, attend a school that's participating in the Safe Schools program, and participate in the family space activity with their parents or caregivers. So extending out to one of our key influencer groups, the parents and caregivers, they will also have the opportunity to experience the exhibition and participate in the family space and have their child's school participate in the Safe Schools program. And similarly for school faculty and staff, they will have the opportunity to receive a training that's part of the Safe Schools program and to also attend the exhibition. And the final audience group is that community and government leaders who, together with those youth-led and youth-serving organizations, can guide the implementation of this intervention package. So now I'm going to ask Olivia to walk us through how the package works from a theoretical perspective.
Thank you so much, Jordi. So this is our theory of change that we developed for the package. I know it looks like a lot on one slide. Don't try to read it all. I'm going to break it down row by row so that it's clear how this package reaches the key audiences we've been discussing, the institutions and organizations that can lead to better outcomes for VYAs. So starting at the top, by addressing these 4 gender norms, which should look familiar to you from the beginning of the webinar. Girls and women should remain pure and innocent. Girls are vulnerable and boys are not. Boys should be tough and not cry or ask for help. And gendered expectations for appearance. So by addressing these norms and using proven change mechanisms, these are a mix of evidence-informed SBC strategies as well as best practices. And they are role modeling, diffusing positive social norms, observed social normative decision-making, empathy building, envisioning alternative futures, collective reflection and discussion, building cross-sectoral collaboration, and confronting power imbalances. So by using these change mechanisms across all of the interventions throughout this package, the 5 interventions that we reviewed earlier, and these interventions that span the VYA environment, government, community, youth-led and youth-serving organizations, schools, families and caregivers, and VYAs themselves, we can create a more supportive environment for VYA boys and girls that helps improve their health and well-being. So on the right, you can see our intermediate outcomes. Those are increased knowledge and agency, increased gender equitable parenting, improved and increased caregiver and child communication, fostering positive gender norms, increased community dialogue, and supportive institutions and systems. And at the bottom on the right, you can see our desired long-term outcomes, reducing rates of gender-based bullying and improving mental health. And these come from the design process that we went through in Indonesia. And we believe these long-term outcomes are widely applicable to VYAs across different contexts, but it is also possible to adapt these as well as needed to different contexts. So now I'm going to pass it over to Eka to talk a little bit more about adaptation.
Thank you, Olivia. So finally, we arrived in the final section of this webinar, where it is to give you a sense for how this package can be adapted to your context and, of course, to other health areas. The package itself contains detailed guidance about this, so don't worry, but we wanted to share examples about how PKBI Bali has already started adapting one of the interventions to address other issues, which is relevant to foreign adolescents' health and well-being in our community. So I will go into the examples of how we adapting the exhibition's concept. Thank you, Jordi, for presenting the picture. So at PKBI Bali, we are youth-serving organizations which primarily focus on family planning. For us in Indonesia, especially in Bali, teen pregnancy is a very big issue. So after we completed the last round of testing, we decided to adapt the exhibitions to focus on that topic. So we utilized this concept to raising the awareness as what the objectives provided in the exhibitions at the previous page. So we reading the exhibition's blueprint and focus them on a different topic.
Sorry to interrupt, Eka. We're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. Is it possible to get closer to the mic?
Sorry, so how about now?
That is a lot better. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, so I will continue. So this is the pictures of how we adapt the exhibition's concept with other topics. So we took the same objective provided in the exhibition's blueprint and focused them on a different topic, which is now we adapted in the teen pregnancy topics. So here you can see the exhibition's entrance in the upper right-hand corner. On the bottom row in the center, you see the participatory component where visitors wrote the message to express their feelings about situations as well as writing the expectations of the issue itself. And on the top left, we see testimonials or photo voice from young mothers who experience teen pregnancies. So they voicing their own voices and experience about being a young mother. And on the bottom right, we see the artworks from a young local artist related to their pregnancy. And also, it's important to note that we had already exposed our community to the other interventions. So this was seen as a continuation of the work we have been doing. And when it comes to actually adapting this package in your community, so we suggest working with youth-led and youth-serving organization members for young adolescents and schools to adapt the interventions. Community involvement, of course, specifically youth involvement, is very essential to making relevant adaptation. Consider holding workshops and using some of the activities in the activity bank, which is one of the materials provided in the package, to identify and adapt gender norms such as empathy building, values clarification, storytelling, gender stereotypes, or any of the very young adolescents activities. So I will turn it back over to Jordi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eka. All right, so we're nearing the end here, and we're getting ready for our Q&A discussion. So we really hope that this webinar has sparked your interest in learning more about this package. And we'd like to invite you to reach out to us with questions, if you'd like more information, and also to share this information with somebody else that you might think would be interested in this. We'd also encourage you to review the detailed package, which is now available on our website, and we'll be sure to share that information with you all as well as a recording of this webinar. And now we're actually going to transition over to our Q&A session, which Kara is going to lead us through. And just a reminder to please, any specific questions that you have, please put them in that Q&A box. And if you maybe accidentally put a question in the chat, if you wouldn't mind bringing it back over into the Q&A box, that would be most helpful to us.
Thanks so much, Jordy. So we've had some great questions in the chat. A few of them have been answered live, but I'm going to go ahead and start with a question that I actually answered in the chat, but I think could use some elaboration. So that question is, I'm going to direct it to Jordy actually. And the question is, has the intervention been evaluated for how impactful this is? And I think this relates to the HCD process and what we were really aiming to do with this high fidelity piece of it. So Jordy, can you maybe explain a little bit about that?
Yes, thanks, Kara. So I'll just first start off and say, has the package been evaluated in kind of the formal traditional way that I think you're asking about? And the short answer is no. So what we have prepared is a package that's ready for piloting, actually. And as part of the package, we've also included evaluation guidance for about how to actually evaluate that impact. But I think what's really important is to the point that Kara was making about the HCD process itself. So we went through 3 rounds of design and testing, and what we were learning there was really about, taking all those things that Olivia had mentioned in the theory of change in terms of what are those proven change mechanisms in the SBC wheelhouse. What we were trying to really learn from the human-centered design perspective was what's really going to resonate with audiences? What is going to be interesting and desirable and novel to them? We were also trying to learn what is kind of logistically and technically feasible, right? What are we going to actually be able to pull off in these environments where we know resources can be very constrained? What's not going to be so financially and technically limiting that this wouldn't be able to be replicated in other places. So we tested for that as well. And we also tested for the potential for scaling this, right? In terms of are we going to be able to reach the right audiences? Are we going to be able to reach enough of the right audiences? And do we think that this, kind of tying back into that feasibility component, is this going to be able to be, is this basically going to be able to be easy enough to pick up and move and implement somewhere else? So those were really the main aspects that we were testing for using the HCD methodology, that desirability, feasibility, and scalability, and each time increasing the level of fidelity or the level of doneness or completeness, thoroughness of the different interventions as part in this package. So testing for all of that, what we've been able to put together is this pilot package that does include, as I mentioned, some very detailed guidance about evaluating this. And I don't know, Kara, if that would be something that you'd like to speak a little bit to, since I know you had a hand in putting that together.
Sure. So we did.
Kara, I accidentally muted you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Thanks. So we did include evaluation guidance, and again, this evaluation guidance is intended to be adapted as well according to how you implement the intervention in your own site. And I would love to talk about it further, but we have a lot of questions and I would love to get to some of them. So I'm actually going to move forward, but I encourage everyone to please look at those resources that we have available. So the next question I would like to ask is from Daniel, and I'm going to direct this to Eka, and it's about the challenges with dealing with, adults, parents, and authorities that might adhere to some more conservative ideas or more maybe normative beliefs. So his question is, how did these interventions deal with some of those maybe conflicting ideas? And I think, Eka, you would be well placed to answer this, maybe talking a bit about the multi-stakeholder forum.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kara and Daniel, for the questions. I will answer is in Bahasa Indonesia, so you can click the interpretations icon. Ya, jadi saat memang kita mengintervensi orang tua itu sangat menantang begitu ya, terutama tantangannya terkait dengan bagaimana orang tua itu memiliki waktu untuk mengikuti series kelas em, yang kita lakukan begitu. Karena pada proses testing ini kita melaksanakan kegiatan selama 3 hari, tiga kali sesi begitu ya, dan memang sulit untuk mendatangkan orang tua dan anak bersama-sama untuk dalam kegiatannya begitu. Kemudian tantangan yang kedua itu terkait dengan bagaimana sebenarnya kita juga harus menyadari bahwa masing-masing orang tua itu punya value atau punya nilainya masing-masing begitu ya. Dan nilai yang konservatif di mana orang tua sangat tidak familiar dengan kata-kata gender atau dengan isu yang kami sampaikan gitu ya. Jadi kami menggunakan pendekatan yang istilahnya pendekatan yang sangat interaktif dan sangat apa ya, kritis begitu. Jadi kita membicarakan topik-topik itu sesuai dengan pendekatan yang cukup kritis begitu ya. Bagaimana kita juga memahami bahwa orang tua punya nilainya masing-masing begitu. Jadi pada saat sesi di orang tua itu sebagai gambaran bahwa kita ada sesi di mana orang tua akan dipisahkan dengan anaknya begitu ya untuk membicarakan hal-hal yang memang sesuai dengan konteks background dari perannya di keluarga begitu. Jadi orang tua dengan orang tua dan juga anak dan dengan anak begitu. Nah, jadi beberapa hal yang kita lakukan untuk bisa menjawab kekhawatiran orang tua terkait dengan isu gender yang mungkin tidak diterima itu adalah kita memberikan ruang mereka untuk tentunya untuk berpendapat begitu ya, karena proses untuk menginternalisasi nilai tentu membutuhkan proses yang cukup lama, tapi setidaknya kita memberikan ruang-ruang dialog dan ruang-ruang diskusi yang cukup kritis gitu untuk menawarkan perspektif pemikiran yang lainnya begitu. Dan kita juga menghindari terjadinya kontradiktif tujuan yang ingin kita sampaikan gitu ya, agar apa yang kita tuju dalam proses family space ini bisa juga tercapai dengan ya harapan kita dengan family space ini semoga akhirnya itu tidak membuat keluarga menjadi lebih tidak baik begitu ya. Jadi itu kenapa pendekatan-pendekatan yang dialogis itu kita gunakan untuk memitigasi risiko-risiko terjadinya potensi kerenggangan hubungan antara orang tua dan anak begitu. Ya, dan di sesi anak-anak kita juga sesuaikan bahasa dan pesan-pesan yang disampaikan sesuai dengan background dari si anak itu sendiri, sehingga nantinya dari sesi terpisah itu orang tua dan anak mendapatkan informasi yang sama dan dengan metode yang berbeda tentunya gitu. Kurang lebih seperti itu, semoga bisa menjawab. So, over to Kara.
Thank you so much, Eka, for that explanation. We have a couple of questions about training and support provided to facilitators. And this is specifically, there was a question about this training for the exhibition, but also in general, what kind of challenges they might have encountered or what support did we give to them. And I think this could definitely be answered again by Eka or Ima, if you could potentially address that, because I think it's a really important question.
Okay, thank you, Kara, for the questions. Maybe I will over to Ima if you have some additional answers for that.
Yes, Kak Eka. And also I will answering this in Indonesian. So please remember to click the interpretation choice. So tentang training fasilitator exhibition. Jadi kesulitannya tentu ada banyak hal ya. Salah satu yang membuat kami lumayan susah waktu itu adalah bagaimana caranya supaya fasilitator bisa mengerti tentang pesan, tentang makna dan juga objektif dari masing-masing karya seni yang kami tampilkan gitu. Karena pada akhirnya kami sadar bahwa senimannya, kuratornya, organizer pamerannya pun juga memiliki pemikiran-pemikiran yang berbeda gitu, nilai-nilai yang berbeda gitu. Ketika dia merepresentasikan pesan terkait keadilan gender ini ke dalam karya. Jadi waktu itu kesulitan terbesarnya adalah bagaimana kami menyambungkan antara fasilitator dengan artis dengan organizer pamerannya gitu supaya kita satu visi dan bisa sama-sama mendeliver pesan yang kita pengen sampaikan gitu. Tapi waktu itu karena fasilitator yang kami gunakan, teman-teman yang membantu kami memfasilitasi pameran ini adalah anak-anak muda, jadi mereka sendiri memiliki relasi, mereka sendiri juga memiliki kedekatan gitu dengan isu bullying berbasis gender, sehingga ketika kita coba briefing, kemudian ketika kita coba mengelaborasikan apa sih pesan dari artwork 1, 2, 3, mereka juga ngerti karena secara nggak langsung mereka juga mengalaminya ketika mereka sekolah, ketika hingga dewasa gitu. Jadi itu yang membuat kami cukup bersyukur ya dan membuat kami merasa keterlibatan anak muda di dalam pameran ini maupun di dalam package ini secara keseluruhan gitu, karena mereka sendiri secara nggak langsung juga pernah mengalami dan memiliki kedekatan gitu dengan isu keadilan gender yang pengen kita sampaikan kayak gitu Kak. I think that's it. I hope I can answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Ima. I know we only have a couple of minutes left here, and I do want to say that we will be, and thank you so much for all of the questions in the Q&A. There's been so much great engagement. I just want to address briefly that there were a few questions about adaptation to different topics and different areas. There was one question about if the package was tested in different environments, like in Africa. And I do want to highlight that we did actually do this same process in the DRC with Save the Children based on their Growing Up Great intervention. And that process yielded very similar results, even though we were not able to take it to full high fidelity like we were in Indonesia. We did see a lot of similarities in the prototypes that came out of that process. And I hope Olivia could share potentially that resource on the results from those interventions as well in the chat. And we would just encourage people to explore that. So with that, I will pass it back to Jordy to close us out.
Thank you so much, Kara, and to everyone who was helping answer questions. I know we didn't get to all the questions, and there's a lot of great questions, and we're going to try to do our best to answer them after the webinar. But I did just want to say that this getting to this point has been an enormous effort from a big team, and while only some of us presented today, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that from the others that went into this, including other members from PKBI and from Johns Hopkins CCP, as well as ThinkPlace. So I just wanted to acknowledge their great work and contributions here. And as we say in Bahasa Indonesia, semangat, which is kind of a keep going. So that was our motto. And we also just wanted to say thank you to you for participating and for staying with us throughout this webinar. We will be sharing a follow-up email with links to more resources with you all after this. And as you can see, we just launched another poll, and we'd love if you would just be able to answer this brief poll in this last minute here. But other than that, Thank you so, so very much. We are very excited about this, and we really look forward to future conversations, hopefully with many of you, to learn more about this package, because we're very excited to get it out into the world. Thank you. And thank you to the other panelists today.